Greetings. Hello. How are you? It's one more time once again for a look inside youth activities. I'm your host, Ísgerðr Bjargeyjardóttir, coming to you from the northern reaches of the Kingdom of Artemisia, where I serve as the Kingdom Youth Minister. I have a lifelong experience of nonprofit youth work, and it's a passion of mine. And we started this show trying to kind of dig into all the different aspects of the STA. Our original guest for this week, had a conflict, so we're going to reschedule her to later in the summer. So I am welcoming back once again Dame Catherine of Ainsdale from the Kingdom of Caid. She is a long serving and well respected youth minister in the Kingdom of Caid. I've worked with her for several years over at Great Western War and some other things. And she was our second guest on the show. Welcome, Catherine. How are you doing?
Doing okay. Thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you for coming back. As you can see, I'm a little dressed down tonight. I've got an SCA T-shirt on, "Whipping Winds," from the Shire of Windgate up in northern Montana. Um, but partly because this is going to be a working episode. So far through our episodes, we've kind of been gathering ideas and different things on some of the different aspects. But one of the things that Catherine and I have been trying to do is really look at some of the different things that are available across the known world to bring them back home to our kingdoms. So we welcome you to the show. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to throw them out there. Our backstage person, my wonderful producer, Germaine de L'Innocent, is back there, and she will pop them up for us and point you in our direction so we can incorporate that into the discussion. We both have a pad and a piece of paper, and today we're going to talk sort of a little bit more about the page schools in our individual kingdoms, some of the things that we've heard that other kingdoms are doing, and some of the aspects of the YAFA program, which is the Youth and Family Achievement Program. That program was originally designed quite a few years ago now by the late great Master David of Caithness, can't talk tonight, who we recently lost. But it has become something where some of the kingdoms took it on, some of the kingdoms did not. The society has decided not to necessarily put funds into backing it on a societal level. Kingdoms can still be part of it. We do still have tokens. We still have all the worksheets and things out there, but it will be somewhat phased out a little bit. So we thought maybe we would get together and talk about some of the things that were really great in that program that would lend well to combining into our page school programs. Is that about what you think, Catherine? What?
Yep, I agree with you.
Okay. So, as I said, ah, thank you, Germaine. The views and opinions expressed are those of the participants and do not reflect any official policy or position of the SCA. And that is because sometimes you will see some of our guests, as I am, are actually working in offices, and we are not here in any official capacity. This is Catherine and Izzy just talking about stuff. So if you have any questions on that regard, please send them our way. But these are our opinions, nothing official. Okay, so do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the YAFA program and some of the things that you understand from YAFA, and just a general overview of what that program sort of is?
Well, I believe the idea behind it was that as youth got older, it would give them a more focused approach into a specific area of interest. If they started young and decided they were really into cooking, the first level would be little, easy recipes, and it would build, and the skills in each level would build up from there, up to, helping out at an actual large feast in the kitchen or serving or.
So, and it was it was my idea that it was, or my impression, I guess, that it was a little bit more of a, it was to entice younger kids to get into arts in more the same way that we ask the adults to do in arts and sciences, arts
that
or
too.
martial arts or anything like that. And
Mhm.
the idea was also to kind of bring it in as a family thing, so youth and
Mhm.
family achievement, so that the family was really, really um, involved with it. But one of the things was sort of, I've heard it numerous times talked about, like it's akin to the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts badge program. So you pick an area of interest and you work with someone and you develop the skills until they say you have, quote unquote, mastered that subject area. And then you got a
Mhm.
token for that.
And I've heard that too. And
Um,
the way it's built, it does seem similar.
Only because
Yeah.
you get the little tokens at the end,
Hmm.
is what I kind of thought.
Yeah.
And a little bit like, I mean, because I was a Girl Scout, there was some,
As was I.
you know, as it was similar. One of the comments I've heard was that if you want to do something like that, go to the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. And that there was some negative commentary on the token part. So we've talked about that in individual shows before. I find that crazy because we all wear tokens, get tokens. It's all part of the whole award system and
Mhm.
really recognition
Absolutely.
system through the SEA as you the path that you're on. It's kind of the way that the whole society shows you that you're doing well. And so I don't understand any idea about not doing it with the kids, especially because the kids are really into things dangling off their necks or sewing something on their
Or having
belt
some sort of
favor.
token to say, "Hey, I did this."
Exactly.
It makes them feel good, and it will make them want to continue.
Absolutely. So I really like the token thing. And so one of the things I do like about, and let me do a disclaimer. I have not had any input or anything into Artemisia's page school. I am not trying to discount anybody's work in the past. Please don't take it personally if you're out there, whoever has worked on it. I think it's a great piece of work. I just think that there are some things that we can do, especially um, now that time has changed over time, and we can upgrade it a little bit. And I think that one of the things that Catherine and I were talking about is sort of upgrading it a little bit so that it kind of incorporates some of these good things from the YAFA program and also some of the ideas across the kingdoms. And so one of the things that I had talked about with Catherine, and I'll just explain one of the things that Artemisia does, and I don't know how it's done in other kingdoms. We'll talk about Kaid in a minute. Um, our page school tries to be sort of all encompassing. Um, we have categories. We have 6 categories: service, scholarship, arts, sciences, performance, and chivalry. And it does look like there are maybe 2 different levels, quote unquote, to this. One of the things that you do is you originally make yourself a belt favor, and they have sort of a design for it so that it's very standard across all the kids. It looks the same, but you can make it however you want to. And then as they went through this program, they were supposed to get um, tokens to show, and so you got beads for it, or you got tokens, and you sewed those onto your belt favor, and that's what showed that you went through the program. Um, but as we were talking more about this, like the mid realm just went back through their page school in the last few years, and they have actually incorporated a 5 level system into their page school. So they start with very, very basic requirements for the younger kids, going up to quite a bit more detailed work and asking more of the older kids, trying to engage the older kids. What kind of system do you guys do in Kaid?
Well, page school, which really hasn't been utilized, unfortunately, in the past several years, is closer to artemisias than the middle because we've only got 3 categories: arts and science, service, and chivalry.
Okay.
So that is, and I've been wanting to revamp Page School to kind of incorporate, some of the YAFA things into it to make it more fun for the younger kids and more challenging and more fun for the older kids. Because if they're second or third generation SC, or if they're just older kids who are getting into it with their parents, they're going to want something meatier. Going beyond make a badge favor. They're going to want more stuff. And since a lot of them, a lot of teens, and I'm sorry if this is a stereotype, but a lot of the teens that I know, like to do LARPing and magic and D&D and all that, which is wonderful, and that really, great for creativity. And so we want to make something that appeals to that group, as well as, other teens who may not be as outgoing, or teens that may have special needs or something, so that we have something that every age level can do, regardless of their abilities or or any disabilities they may have. We can be something we can be flexible with.
Yes. So let me ask you, is yours designed around, you do this at any time, or is it mostly designed around meetings, events, anything like that? Do you have?
No, it's pretty much you can do it any time.
Okay. And that's sort of what it looks like with ours. It has some like scholarship in the SCA talks about attending a class at an event or a meeting. And it also encourages them to do some things outside of the SCA, like attend a museum exhibit about the Middle Ages. And one of them is when it's trying to entice you into doing more arts and sciences, go to your local library and get a library card and start, so I kind of like that kind of idea, is some of that kind of stuff. The problem that I have is I think that it's, number one, I think that it's a little bit too basic for, as you said, I think more detail needs to be. So like this one, catch an insect, have an adult help you identify it. That's fine, except that not all adults are going to be happy with you walking up with an insect. And not all adults will really be able to help you identify it. But maybe you could do something like catching it and identifying it in a basic sense. And then as you get strong, further up the ladder, maybe you have to do more about, talking about taxonomy and a little bit stronger science involved with it, rather than just, this says, bring it to your local meeting and tell us about your insect. I'm not sure what insect that would be, but
I don't know. That would be challenging, just to be able to, because not all parents or adults are going to want to deal with insects.
No. No. I took an aquatic insects class, and I might be able to help, but there's not a whole lot of, not everybody is going to like that.
And so I do think it's more the younger kids that are all gung-ho about,
right?
Ooh, I get to catch an insect.
So you said A&S, service, and chivalry. We have it's split between arts and sciences. Does Kaid really do that? Do you really kind of always group them together?
They've always been grouped together. However, as I think we have more people researching, getting into research and participating in arts and sciences, I think personally it would be a good idea to kind of split them up. Yes. At least for things that could be definitely art, because for, say, illumination, and if there are any scribes out there, if I'm incorrect, please correct me, doing a scroll and illuminating it and painting it and doing the calligraphy, that's art.
Right.
But I would think that mixing the pigments to get the desired colors would be more of a science.
Right.
And it would be the same thing if you were doing glass working. I saw in Italy, we saw a glass blowing demonstration in Murano, and they were talking about using different minerals to get the different colors. So the art of blowing the glass and shaping it, I think that's more of an art, and yet mixing the pigments to get your desired color, it's a science.
Do you guys in Caid have we have a University of Artemisia Arts and Sciences thing in our kingdom? Do you have anything like that?
We have a collegium once a year, and I think it just happened in June. I was sick and was unable to make it to that, but usually, and it's been a little small over the past few years. I know we didn't have it for 2 years because of the virocalypse.
Right.
But it's usually some very interesting and different classes taught there.
Well, ours, we do a kingdom collegium as well, and we do some local collegium or education only sorts of days or throughout the kingdom. But we also have this thing called University of Artemisia, and it sort of exists outside of it. It's within our kingdom, but it's your own personal journey through ANS in the SCA, and you track it yourself and apply through the university. We actually have a person who does it. I'm actually a philosopher of our university now because during the pandemic, I went crazy and took all sorts of online classes. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is because, so what we have is we have grand categories, and it sort of goes the same way if you're, sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Colleges of the university. It's sort of like if you're doing ANS competition and what categories that it goes under. But under our university, we have 5 colleges that are arts and 5 colleges that are sciences. And so we have apothecary and culinary, hard sciences like astronomy, medicine, that sort of thing, culture, history, military sciences, which is armoring and weapon making and that sort of thing, heraldic arts. We have a textile arts, a non-textile arts, a performing arts, and a visual arts. And visual arts has most of the illumination, calligraphy, and printing sciences and different things like that. But so we actually have split it up into these different groups for the purposes of studying the stuff, competing with it, and you can get credit through the University of Artemisia as a teacher or as a student. So anytime you teach a class, you go in and self-report. Anytime you take a class, you go in and self-report. And then there's just this, like I said, it's just there's really nothing you get out of it or anything other than just to say you did it kind of thing.
You did it and you learned a cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was wondering if maybe that's a good way to split up the Page School a little bit in terms of the arts and sciences thing. We might be able to use some of this as a model for, because I would, if I look in our Page School book, arts is period paintings, drawer paint, that sort of thing. And then under sciences, that's where you have that insect, collect leaves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, that's the basic one. And then as you get into the next level, it's more like build a period machine, grow a period plant. And then there's also, and this is one of the things I had thought of earlier, make an article of clothing to wear. So one of the things that I thought, when we're talking about levels as they grow up, maybe as a kid, you have them, make something really, really simple. But by the time they're graduating, they're making a full
Mm-hmm.
tunic that they could their hands sewing a tunic as opposed to something. How can you graduate through that skill level? Um, do you have it so that people actually go through the whole page school and then they graduate?
I would guess so. I've not had anyone graduate yet, but I would think that would be really nice to acknowledge all their efforts and their hard work. I'm really big on the recognition part of things, especially for youth.
Me too. I think anytime you can grab them and have them in court with you, the better. Um, and they really like it too.
Because a lot of people tend to overlook them, especially the younger ones, because they're young.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the greatest, and this is a bit of a tangent, one of the greatest things for me as I went through the SCA is watching, and this was well before I was the youth officer or involved in youth activities, watching the children of fellow Shire members, who I've watched grow up, get recognized for stuff. That was just always a really cool feeling.
Yeah. Do you have a Kingdom Award for youth?
We have 3, I believe. There's the Acorn, which is for service. There's the excuse me, Argent Flame, which I believe is arts. And then there is one for youth combat, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And those were relatively recent. Well, the Acorn's been around for a while, but arts and other awards, are rather newly added. They're a few years old. And I thought it was wonderful when they were done.
Yeah, we have one that you get for the kingdom as a youth. You have to get it before you turn 15. So people who join the SCA after that never get it, and that's a big joke in our kingdom with one of our dukes who has never gotten it and will never get it, so he tries to steal it all the time. But we call it the Griffin's Pride, and it's basically, it's not really a service. I guess it would be more service than art or anything. It's kind of just given as, if you have participated and people know who you are and you're playing in the game and you're coming around a lot and you're helping out, preferably would be nice, and that sort of thing.
Oh, well, yeah.
But we don't really have any kind of a measurement for it or anything. And we don't have, before they're 16. Thank you, Jermaine. We don't have, it's basically kind of, I think the kings and queens that each one that comes up goes, okay, do we have anybody who hasn't gotten one yet? Sort of thing. Like, we try to make sure that most of the kids get recognized, because we do, I think it's well recognized within the kingdom that, we lose them at a certain point.
Yes, we do.
They're aging out of things at that certain time. And I don't know how you combat that. That's one of the reasons why this page school thing, one of the things that I really think is interesting that we should be incorporating more in is some of the martial arts stuff.
Yes.
I would like to see them doing more, like learning how to build a shield, learning how to build, what are you interested in, and taking that path and going on it already. One of the things that I see about the page school program that we have is, in order to really be recognized to do the whole thing, you have to do every one of these aspects. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the things that was positive about the YAFA program was that you could get recognition for what you wanted to do. You don't have to
go through all the levels.
You didn't have to go through all the 8 different categories. You could do this category.
And then if you decide later you want to do the other category, go do the other category.
Right. And I would like to see something more like that, because I think, you're going to get the kids that are the super uber achievers that want to do everything. And then you're going to get the kids that just don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And everything in between. So One of these does say attend a class on youth combat or weapon construction, but that's just doing a class.
Yeah.
So maybe you start with learning what it is, but then by the time you're in the
Learning the
fifth level,
rules. And
learning
by
the
the,
rules,
yeah.
um, and then learning how to make the stuff. I would like to also see. I wouldn't mind seeing some things like what I don't see in our book at all. Do you guys do anything on marshaling at all?
I
Helping.
do not believe so. And I think we should. We've also just started a youth rapier program in the past couple of years. And I think I'd like to incorporate that as well because it seems to be fairly popular.
Yeah, we have not done that yet. I've been talking to a couple of our newer mods about, maybe you need a new project because we could really use some youth rapier. But we also need to get youth combat going in our kingdom. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Finding people who want to do that is just the largest challenge. I
Yeah.
haven't found any new answers out of this program either. So if anybody out there is listening, or if you watch it and you have any ideas, please get a hold of
Please.
us because we would
Yes.
love to know
Would
what
love
else we
ideas.
could possibly do to entice people to work with the youth.
Ideas are good things.
Ideas are great things. Um, so you said you have 3 levels. Do you have, what ages does it break into?
Or no, we actually do have 4. We have 4 levels, but 3 categories in each level.
Okay.
One is for, the youngest kids, kindergarten or preschool or transitional kindergarten or whatever they're at, through first or second grade.
Okay.
And then the next one would be third, fourth, and fifth. The third level would be, middle school, and then the fourth level would be high school students.
Okay.
But for me, I would like to think that the age levels are more of a guide. If you have someone in junior high who breezed through everything early and was still in junior high and wanted to start working on the high school stuff, I see no problem with that.
Right.
I really don't. If they're up for the challenge, go for it. Go forth and make it happen.
Does your page school require participation with the parents as well?
At the younger ages, definitely. As they get older and they're a little more independent, some parental guidance might be helpful, especially if you've got the older kids that, have special needs or just need a little bit of help from a parent or, adult figure in their life. I don't think they should have to do it all by themselves. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I'm stuck on this. Can you help me? Even if they are at a high school level.
Right.
Or finding someone who's skilled at whatever art or science they're doing and say, okay, I'm stuck on this. Can I ask you some questions? Just to get some help. I don't think it would be right to make them do it on their own.
No.
Unless they really want to. The uber achievers might want that.
Well, and there's always, not every kid is the same, right? So
Exactly.
one 8-year-old is closer to 5 and one 8-year-old is closer to 12.
Yes.
So it's just, it sort of depends.
So I think as they get older, parental or adult help is an optional thing based on their comfort level.
Okay.
If they need help, if they're putting together, armor at the high school level and they need help, they can go to one of the older fighters or a knight and say, okay, I can't make this work.
Right.
What am I doing wrong?
Do you have a budget for it? Do you have any, or is it all?
A very, very small budget. But I imagine that, as if it were to grow, could probably, increase it a little bit, increase it as needed.
So would that be for supplies and things, or just for maintaining the program, like printing of the books and sort of thing?
I would think, printing any tokens, and just general support of having the materials for the program, possible reimbursement for, teachers who go out of pocket to teach a class and, buy their supplies.
Okay. And I think that that's one of the things that is a misconception around um, the SCA in general, um,
Yes.
that you have to fund all this stuff out of your own pocket. And if you can't afford to fund it by yourself, then you probably shouldn't do it. That's not true whatsoever.
Completely not true.
Absolutely.
It's
Your
not true
local
in wars.
groups, yeah,
It's not true in kingdom.
no. So your local group should be someone that you can talk to about a small budget for this sort of thing. It, there's also fundraising that you can do for youth if you want to do something like that. I mean, we've done that in Artemisia. We didn't have much budgeted for youth at all, so I started a fundraising campaign with my coloring book program to fund stuff for youth. Um, so there's just ways to do it. You can work with an event steward if you're going to have a page school class at an event and you have an expense for it that you need. You can work with the event steward to have that added into the budget for the event. So there's lots of ways to fund all of that stuff.
Absolutely. You never have to fund it by yourself.
Ever. Let's see, what other questions do I have? What do you think about? I was looking at this, and so in our categories, we have performance as one of the 6 categories. Is that something that you think? I mean, as a bard, for me, I love it. I think it's great, and I encourage people all the time because I think everybody has a little bit of bard in them, unless they're totally terrified. You can tell a story, you can tell a joke, you can do all sorts of things, but that's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea. So
Very true.
having that as a whole other section of the school.
Maybe as an optional activity for those who are really interested in it, because there are some people who are absolutely terrified to get in front of an audience and perform anything.
Right. And I would kind of always look at bardic or performance as part of arts.
Yeah.
And so I guess I
definitely.
would kind of almost rather see it be incorporated into the arts section. And you can do, your arts, you can choose anything, but one of the arts things that you can do is performance. Maybe take your arts and section it out between, like we were saying before, like there's arts and there's sciences and that sort of thing. And that's one of the things that we have in our College of University of Artemisia in our colleges. We have a performing arts college. So you can go do that if you want to, but it's separate and it's different than some of the other stuff, but it's still under that same umbrella of arts and sciences.
But no penalty for if that's just not your art form, that's okay.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Or maybe add something to it for those who are not performance inclined. Like go watch a bardic circle, go watch a bardic presentation and talk about it.
I like that idea.
What you didn't like. One thing I got into with my daughter who is autistic after various performances, regardless of what they are, is what was your favorite part? And that way we could bridge the, have a conversation about that. And that might be a good alternative if they really don't want to get up and perform.
Right.
But they could still, develop an appreciation for the bardic arts and maybe even learn a few campfire songs or
Yeah, I
or
like
something
that.
to sing with a bunch of people instead, around a campfire.
I like that. I was also thinking about some maybe doing like some interviewing of bards. Go find
Yeah.
someone who's a former kingdom bard and ask them something or something
Well,
like that.
even a few non-kingdom bards. I mean, we have some excellent bards here. And in fact, one of them was at Youth Point last year for the children's tea party to entertain everybody with stories, and everybody had fun. So, I would think that'd be a good thing to do, just interview, and maybe that could be one of the challenges.
Yeah, go interview, find a bard and interview them and find out, these four things or something. What interests them? What made them start their
Hmm.
talent?
Yeah, something like that, and which means they could still get credit for doing the bardic portion, but they don't have to get up and actually perform.
Yeah.
And I'm very respectful of the fact that it's not easy for everyone. I've been playing flute for 40 years, and I still get nervous trying to do solos in front of people.
Yeah, I'm a bard, but I absolutely have panic attacks still to this day. So
Hmm.
yeah. Um, scholarship is one of ours as a section, and um, that seems to be also sort of arts and sciences based as well.
Hmm.
It's learning about things and attending classes and um, learning the period names for colors. So I think that some of that, I don't know that six categories. I guess I'm trying to make it more simple
Pare it,
in
pare it
one
down.
area, but yeah, but more all encompassing in a different way. Um,
I'll think on that, because there could be ways to do that.
yeah, because you're saying you guys have like ANS service and chivalry,
Hmm.
and we have
I'd like to break it down a little more so that it is a little more a little more individualized.
right, and basically, so what I see is the only difference between our two is we've got arts and sciences split, so that adds one. We added performance and we added scholarship. And so we kind of talked about performance being under arts. And really, to me, some of the stuff that we're doing as scholarship could be under arts or
Hmm.
sciences, either one. So
Depending
that's
on the topic,
right.
that would be a
Uh,
good general overall.
yeah, I'm thinking that we might be able to take sort of some of these scholarship ideas and put them in with
Mhm.
some of the
With
other things and maybe,
arts, and maybe put some of them in with service.
right. So make it just kind of, but I really do like getting back to maybe even just four categories.
Like
And
for
I four main categories like arts, sciences, service, chivalry.
Mhm. And something maybe for the older crowd, as far as service, something like shadow and officer. Learn about at least one job in your local area.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
know,
why
they,
I was kind of
they
talking
don't
about
have to
like,
take the office, but learning about it, I think, might
yeah,
help
maybe
them. And
even doing a junior deputy kind of thing for a while. And that's why I was kind of thinking about, do they work with the marshals or anything?
are
Work
they
with somebody who's
computer
running a
wizards?
tournament. Um,
Can they do web page design? They could always help the web write.
Really good idea. Learning what the web minister job is, learning what the social media job is, learning what are the jobs within the SCA that people are doing.
Because I
Because we
guarantee
also have
you.
all sorts of them that people are doing that people don't even realize. Things like the people in the background that are running all the lists and
Hmm.
the roles and the just all sorts of different stuff like that. I and I don't see some of this is a little bit attend a class or an event. Okay, attendance is great, but there's not specific enough of learning. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really. What I find is there's a dabbling,
Mm-hmm.
but there's not a touching all the bases.
Mm-hmm.
There's sort of a, you could do these four things, whereas maybe there's 15 things in arts that you could, so maybe we need to increase it a little bit more in terms of
Mm-hmm.
talking about
And
specific
and
things.
I would say also, possibly at least at the upper levels, maybe some leadership type things, because yeah, it's all well and good they can finish all their arts, but they're not. But the ones who want to stay in aren't just going to want to sit and do art. Some may, but others may want to learn other aspects, like being an officer. And as we all know, we always need people willing to train and step up as officers. And I think that's something that goes through all the kingdoms,
Absolutely.
and that would give, and I'm sure that a lot of our teens are probably better at electronics like web design and social media than most of the adults.
Well, and I think that's some of the stuff that we need to.
We need to take it and capitalize on it and make it, and we can benefit from some experience,
For sure.
So I think that might be something to maybe put under, scholarship, or, learning how to run an event, learning how to run a feast, and the
Hmm.
steps involved in those things. And maybe they can even, help an event steward, at least at first, run a small of, help run a small event. I know they can't sign documents and stuff, but there's a lot that goes into an event than just getting a site and doing the insurance and signing the contract.
Right. Well, and that's what I'm sorry. I was just looking at this. Yeah, we do have some of that kind of stuff. We've got helping with the SDA activities such as a fundraiser, a presentation, or something like that. So we do a little bit of that, but we don't. It's not specific enough to like it spends time with someone who's new to the kingdom. Be their friend and include them in our activities.
That would be a good one. That would be really good, especially for, you know, new families coming in who have a kid talking to, or have a teen talking to another teen.
Yeah, I
That's going to
really
make
like
them
that.
feel a little more included and excited about it.
Hmm. And there's some retinue kind of stuff on here too. But what
Which,
I don't see is sort of like what you were saying is kind of step into that next level of, okay, help figure out how to do this. All right, the next one is serve as a co-steward.
yeah,
Actually put your name in and actually go through the whole thing, sort of thing.
and that would definitely be good for the older.
Next show, we're going to be talking
You.
to Duchess Tiana here in Artemisia and one of her local youth guilds. And that is one of the things that they've done. They actually they have actually, done the feast for an event. Their local youth guild put together the whole thing, did the budget, served at the feast, did the whole thing. I love that idea.
Oh, that's
Um,
such a good idea.
so,
I
yeah.
may, I may copy that from you.
Well, log in next week because we are going to be talking to Tiana. In fact, we just got reminder we have been talking for 45 minutes already. I can't believe it. So I am going to let you think for a minute on your shout out and last words if you have any, summation of what we're going to do. And I'm going to do a little bit of business. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So, let me pull this up here on Cal's Kal-bardr's Corner. The next 4 shows we have coming up, actually I think I only have 3 on here, but on Sunday, July 3rd, which is just in a few days, this Sunday, Cal is on the road, and he is going to be coming to you at his normal time, and the show is on the Craphoud. I think that's how you say that. It's the Toad. It is the longest running tournament in the Knowne World. It has occurred for over 300 months in a row, including during the pandemic. And for this episode, Cal will be hanging out with the Angels, the house that has been responsible for the tournament since its inception. They'll talk about the history, the start, the purpose of the amazing tournament on the West Coast. Bring your coffee, watch, listen, and drop your questions. We will hit them up when we have signal again. The next show after that, on Sunday, July 10th at 10 a.m., we are doing Master Aslak the Awful will be interviewing Baroness Tiana Nikoiman, and he's talking about rekindling the magic, next level luxuriating. In this episode, Aslak interviews Baroness Tiana about making space to bring back the magic of the SCA. We talk about next level luxuriating and creating spaces where we can enjoy the company of others and lose ourselves in the magic. Let's all gather and learn how we can make our SCA experience have a little more luxuriating. And so Baroness Tiana is also Duchess Tiana, and she is also my next guest. She is coming back to visit us on A Look Inside Youth Activities on Monday, July 25th at our regular time, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. She is a Pelican, a fantastic woman. And as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, she has started a local youth guild in the barony of Loch Solent. And what she does with that local youth guild is just amazing. And so I want to talk to her more about some of the ideas, how she got that started, what they do on a local level, and that sort of thing. Okay, and back to business for Cal. If you want to be part of our grand wall of patrons and support us, please go out to Patreon/KK Productions and find us out there. You can also support us out on Redbubble by going out and buying stickers or the Do Nightly Things sheets that we have on there, anything that they come up with. Search under KK Productions out on Redbubble. If you want to contact me, if you have any questions on tonight's show, any comments, any ideas for future shows or guests or anything like that, please send me an email at isgerth@gmail.com. You can see that at the bottom of the screen. Our lovely guest, Dame Catherine, can also be contacted. She's in the Kingdom of Kaid, and her email there is graytabby89@hotmail.com. Okay. Last thoughts for me are, I do believe that there's more that we can do to support the youth, and particularly the older youth. One of the recurring themes of this show, and that I have talked to with all the youth officers I've talked to across the society, is how do we keep them engaged? How do we not lose them during that transition time? And so a couple of our future episodes are going to actually talk about that specifically. We're going to talk to a couple of second gen players and also some other ones who are just either parents of or currently going through that transition, and some of the ideas that worked for them. So one of the things I think that we've kind of decided tonight is that, there's definitely some things in the YAFA program that can be incorporated in, but having that tiered system and more challenges, better challenges, and maybe even incorporating some of our, newer technology into those, like the web ministry and the social media aspect of what we do to support the game that we love. What do you think, Catherine? You've got some final thoughts for us?
Oh, I think everything we talked about is absolutely excellent, and I really look forward to working on this project, even when my replacement takes over in January.
Awesome.
And we will definitely get her involved with this because, I had ideas and now I've got so many more, and I will take any other ideas. So please send ideas my way because I will listen to every idea, whether it's good or silly or whatever, because I've gone by the belief that if we don't try it, we're not going to know whether or not it works.
Absolutely.
Some
You
things
never
work,
know until you try it, for
some
sure.
things don't. And then we can share those results with each other, and figure out what might make something better. But, we really have to work on recruitment right now. As, we notice we're losing a lot of our older members and, mainstays of the society. And we just need to keep getting new people in to keep it going.
Absolutely. Well said. Okay, and do you have a shout out?
I do. My shout out is to the late Baroness Alfwyn, who just passed away. She was Baroness of Altavia in Caid and was a youth officer well before my time, but was an inspiration to me. And after she moved out of Kingdom, I had a few conversations with her. And as with David of Caithness, she was definitely a good person to talk to bounce ideas off of. And I want to make a posthumous shout out to her because I think that she really laid the groundwork in Caid for this. And she was an amazing, wonderful, wonderful lady.
Awesome.
And she deserves a whole bunch of credit for this.
Sounds like it. Awesome. And my shout out today is for a couple of people that I've known from the beginning of playing who live in the barony of Bronzehelm in Artemisia. And they are Lord Edgar the Builder and Lady Inara the Wise. They are parents of some fabulous SCA players as well. Um, they are the parents of one of the former fat guys on one of our KK Productions shows, Duke Fergus. They also are the parent of the current sitting Baron of Bronzehelm, Sir Killian. And along with that, they have been going through some stuff. Artemisia, northern Artemisia, if you've been seeing anything about Yellowstone National Park, we had some historic 500-year flooding. And Ed and Inara live on the Never Done farm that he has been building. They have been building by themselves for a very, very long time, and it's amazing. And we used to hold events there. And several years ago, the Yellowstone River flooded and actually jumped its banks closer to their property. And then about that same time, we found in Bronzehelm, they found a different location, which is the Swift River Ranch. And so a secondary shout out also goes to Milady, or I believe it's Lady now, Heather, who owns the Swift River Ranch, because she too, unfortunately, is on the Yellowstone River. All of these people were flooded out. The barony of Bronzehelm jumped in and helped. Ed and Inara had to be taken off their property on a boat because they were surrounded by water, only their house. Swift River, the barony of Bronzehelm, everybody kind of jumped up and went in and saved all the animals and stuff because Swift River Ranch is actually a working ranch. All of that stuff they've been mucking out mud and everything else. And so my shout out just goes to those guys for being wonderful, generous people. We're happy that you're okay. And we're happy to help give anything back because you have all given so much to us over the years with letting us use your properties for sites and everything else. And I want you to know how much we appreciate you. And I hope that things are okay because that was a crazy, crazy time with that flood. So, okay. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much for coming and joining us again. Thank you, Catherine. You're wonderful as usual and jumping in
Thank
when I
you.
needed somebody. Thank you. And we'll be seeing you again soon, I'm
Well, I
sure.
hope so.
And join us again next month as we take
Yes.
another look inside youth activities here on KK Productions. Thanks. Bye bye.